Dan Illman, Mike Beer in the paddock at beautiful Monmouth Park, getting ready for race number 11 on Saturday. It's the Grade 1 United Nations. This is for turf horses going 1 3/8. That's 3 turns around the Monmouth Park turf course. Let's take a look at this field. Tribhuvan won this race last year. He has adopted front-running, run-and-gun tactics, and for the most part, it's worked very well for him.
Yeah, he looked really good winning this race last year, although it was, a situation where he just got absolutely loose when nobody went after him. He won that race very easily in fast time. Similar situation the last time we saw him, Dan, on Belmont Stakes Day. Absolutely loose in the Manhattan, but big performance.
We're going to talk about that race in a little bit. And we'll talk about it when beginning with the number 1 Adamo, also trained by Chad Brown, finished second in the Manhattan. Now, Tribhuvan, I think, was helped by several things in the Manhattan. Well, as we throw up the Timeform U.S. pace projector, we see Tribhuvan expected to make the lead. The other speed channel maker didn't break at all. Yeah. So that put Tribhuvan loose on the lead. And then he had just a couple of dullards in the second flight, maybe running a little interference in him in the pocket. And the next thing you know, Tribhuvan's 8 clear. Adamo, meanwhile, is sort of buried in mid-pack. He's in behind horses. There was a seam, and it looked like he was a little reluctant to go through that seam, but he ended up finishing well for second. Thus far, this horse has been more sizzle and steak.
Yeah, that was my only issue with him. And listen, what you're saying about his Manhattan trip, I'm going to take it pretty seriously. This is a horse who kind of got himself blocked behind horses at a pretty crucial stage in that race. I think the flip side of that, Dan, kind of is they probably could have made a move with him if they wanted to earlier, and Pratt decided not to do that. And then he did, run pretty well to get second in there, but he did a lot of sucking along in that race, while Gufo, the horse who he outfinished for second, tried to make this long outside run into the race. I don't know which one I think necessarily ran better, Dan. What I do know about Adamo is he's probably not going to be a great price in here, and I don't know how good he is.
Carpenter's Call's the number 2, and this one's going to be a decent price. He's in pretty sharp form. He's got a lot of upside. He's a lightly raced 4-year-old, only 9 starts to date. He scored last time out over the synthetic at Presque Isle Downs in striking fashion. Earned a 92 Beyer speed figure, and he's run okay on the turf in the past as well. Yeah. Distance, the big question mark.
Boy, it's a big ask for this horse to stretch him out to 1 3/8 here, switching back to turf in here. He has run pretty well, and basically all of his turf races, not quite up to stakes competition, 2 and 3 starts back. He's also a horse who kind of wants to be forward in his races. That's probably not going to work in here with Tribhuvan to deal with. I don't know. I think he's a nice horse. I can't see him winning this race.
This is a really fascinating spot for the 3 Temple. He has not run since the Gulfstream meet where he was in the Pan American behind Gufo, tried to make a run into the race and flattened out. Michael Maker gave him plenty of time. He returns here with Lasix on. The distance isn't a problem, and he has the tactical ability to work out trips.
Yeah, I think those things are all true. Is he truly a graded stakes kind of a horse? I'm personally not sure, Dan, but man, does he feel like he could land in the right trip in this race? And he does come into this race in pretty good form. He won the Mac Diarmid at 2 starts back off of a really good trip, and that came off of the McKnight prior to that, where he just did not get the right ride or trip in that race and actually ran a lot better than it looks. This horse is a little bit interesting.
Give Tribhuvan the lead, very dangerous. We saw that in the UN in the Sword Dancer. His subsequent start, he did make the lead. He was out-sprinted for it, and he paid the price. The Breeders' Cup turf was simply too tough. Yeah. The Turf Classic at Churchill Downs, lay off. That turf course maybe not kind to speed. Yeah. And last time he just got the perfect ride from Manny Franco.
Yeah, he's a pretty tough call, isn't he? If only because, when he has things go his way in his races, boy, does he look really good. As you've just sort of alluded to, when things don't go to his liking, you know what? He's kind of just an ordinary horse. I do respect the fact, though, that they've sort of figured out what this horse wants to do. He wants to go long, and he wants to be on the lead in his races, and they're not going to play any games here, Dan. They're going to send him right to the front.
19-1 last time. It won't be that price here. He's Pure Gold is the number 5, a very likable gelding trained by Kelly Breen. Only 2 starts this year, and Kelly's handled him very well. Found a second-level allowance, comfortable victory, then found a nice stakes race for New Jersey breds. He was supposed to win, as we see. He won without any fuss.
Yeah, he's looked good in his last 2 starts for sure. He's definitely improved from 3 to 4. I really like each of his last 2 races, Dan. This is a pretty significant class hike for him. He's in excellent form.
Not only a class hike, big distance hike. He's never raced beyond 1 1/8 miles. Mose is up next, and Mose is hoping beyond hope that there is not only a fast pace set by Tribhuvan, but maybe a little bit more of a contested pace than in last year's UN. This horse has raced twice this year, hasn't done much. He needs a lot of early pace because he has no speed.
Yeah, he's supposed to get the right setup in here. I don't think they're going to go flying in this race, but I'd be shocked if they they just let Tribhuvan walk like they did last year and like they did last time. We'll see how that all plays out. I actually happen to be a fan of this horse. I couldn't convince myself that he could beat this field.
Another horse that's going to have to stretch out significantly in distance. Glen County is up next. This horse ran an okay 5th in this race last year. He hasn't won in a while. We have to go back over a year. His most recent start was the Monmouth Stakes, a grade 3 here. I guess he had some excuses in that he didn't break very well. I thought he ran better than we'd seen him in some of his subsequent starts. He's a bit of a wild card for Maker.
He is a little bit of a wild card. That's a good way to put it. I actually felt like he seemed like he had been rounding into some of his better form in his last 3 or 4 starts. I personally kind of felt like that was because they cut him back in distance and they were letting him run shorter. Now they're going to stretch him all the way out again. I mean, he's shown that he can get this distance in the past.
Here's Kentucky Ghost's last race, the cliffhanger at Monmouth on May the 28th, and he got an electric pace to rally into that day, and he got it done. Now, I'm not sure the setup's going to be there if Tribhuvan is 5 clear and going 47 to the half, but it's nice to know that this horse is in form. He can beat stakes horses, but now he's got to do it at a longer distance against better horses.
Yeah, and it does kind of feel like last time was the time. With the perfect setup, he was a good price in that race as well, off of a really disappointing turf classic. Ray had big excuses that day. I don't know, Dan, I've always been a fan of this horse. I'm not that concerned about him stretching all the way out in distance here, but he's going to probably need to run the race of his life.
The angle for the 9 Epic Bromance is that he loves Monmouth. 5 starts, 2 wins, 1 second, 2/3 on this turf course. 3rd in this race last year at 61 to 1. And last time out, let's watch him in the Monmouth. He's only 58 to 1 in this race. He makes the lead, he fights him down to the wire and runs a good 3rd. He has some speed.
He really does. I personally feel like he's a better horse, too, when they put him on the lead in his races. I wonder if they'll do that this year, because when they ran him in the UN last year, they didn't go after Tribhuvan in there. As you've already mentioned, he ran pretty well to be 3rd that day. But I just think he's better when they go with this horse. I wonder if they go here.
Gufo is a very dangerous horse. He's banked $1.5 million in his career for Christophe Clement. He looked good in his seasonal debut against inferior competition in the Pan American. In the Man o' War, I thought all in all, the triple actually worked out for him, and he just didn't fire home past Highland Chief while beating the classy Yabir, finishing ahead of him. And last time out in the Manhattan, you talked about it, Mike. It was just a situation where he had to try to swing into the race wide, and by the time he got into the straight, the winner was gone.
Yeah, I mean, I have enough excuses for his last race. He didn't run great in there, but he didn't run terrible with circumstances that I thought were way against him. It's also worth noting, Dan, that was 1.25 miles. I think this horse, the more distance you give him, the better he gets. He gets an added furlong here. He needs something to run at in this race, but this horse is pretty good.
Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for all the latest DRFTV video offerings. Mike, where are you going?
I'm going to take Tribhuvan back, Dan. I really did want to try to beat him in this race, but you know, I know that he had everything go well for him last time in the Manhattan. He was also super sharp in that race, and I think Chad's going to bring him down here. I think he's going to be sharp again, and I think they're going to put him on the lead.
I think it'll be Chad, too, but I think Adamo's going to turn the tables. He came into the United States and into Chad's barn with a big reputation. He's yet to run to that reputation. Maybe this is the spot, if there's any, for him to finally get it done. I think he runs past Tribhuvan in the stretch. Of the Grade 1 United Nations, one of several quality graded stakes races on the Haskell undercard on Saturday. Good luck.